it has done, ladies and gentlemen, don't try to read what there's written, but I do want to emphasize on this, but wait a second. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speak on behalf of German Chambers of Commerce and Industry and on behalf of our British German Chamber based in London, speaking for, I guess it's around about 700 or 800 member companies having long experience with business in London. And admittedly, we all were very shocked of the Brexit votum, and the shock is not really over due to the fact that there is great uncertainty concerning where is the British position, where is are the British negotiators heading to? What is the goal of the Brexit? What kind of relations do they want? So in this respect, maybe the biggest unanswered question is who is the rule maker and who is rule taker? But starting from a first impression, what we had when we carried out a survey among several thousand German companies based in Germany, right a few days after the Brexit votum was given. These are the results, and the results in our interpretation and in many talks we had is, yes, Great Britain, the United Kingdom is of high importance. You all know that it's, from a German perspective, the third largest export destination. But even more important, not only when it comes to destination of our products, of our goods and services, but when we have to consider what is our platform of production sites, then it's still the single market, and what we all do not want, but what will happen quite likely without then the UK. So we've asked with what development of your exports are you expecting in a short-term view and in a middle term perspective, starting with in 2 years after the negotiation period. So, and the black is are bad pieces of the cake. This means lower exports, and the blue ones higher exports. So higher exports is a minority of 4%, and the majority, at least in the 2 years perspective, means that more than a half are expecting lowering export. And when we asked why, then one factor is in short-term perspective decisive, and this is the lowering of the British pound and therefore a less purchase power of British customers. And we've asked about the import perspective, and it's also so this beige, forget about the big cake. Just look at the bottom line between the black and the blue, and the black and the blue always means it's a loss of trade from the perspective of exports and from the perspective of imports. And then we are not only to the question of the exchange rate, but we speak also, of course, but what kind of other regime will we later have in the, I do want to emphasize, in the partnership, but the new partnership with the UK. And that means maybe customs. That means maybe new standards, different standard regimes, other licenses, a new, maybe, I do not hope, acquis communautaire in Great Britain. That means not the transfer from the European acquis communautaire to Great Britain, that they accept our standards, because, as far as we have understood it here from the German perspective, two things were decisive for the Brexit votum. It was the claim for taking back control from Brussels. And you can't be or continue with this claim. It's a contradiction to accept all the standards, at least from our perspective. Accept all the standards and say taking back control. So at least we are not that convinced that this is not a contradiction. And the second was the free movement of labor, which is also important from a German company's perspective. It's not the decisive argument, but it is an argument. Maybe interesting is the plans for investing. The first question here is, we had several hundreds of British affiliations in Germany and asked them whether they, this is the right cake here, only daughter companies of British enterprises, whether they plan more or less investments in Germany due to the Brexit votum. And from a German perspective, increasing expenditure, 21%, and less expenditures in Germany due to the Brexit, 7%. That means a bottom line of 14 percentage points in favor of German locations due to the Brexit. That means British daughter companies are planning to invest in Germany more than they would have done if there would have been no Brexit at all. In the UK, the other way around, the German daughter companies in the UK lower expenditures in investments, 35%, and higher expenditure, 7%. And this is a striking negative balance, really not in favor of British locations. And having in mind that German companies, if you count up the capital stock for the moment, having invested more than 100 billion euro in the UK and employing thereby more than 400,000 British employees.
Can I ask, when was the survey done? That's quite critical.
This survey was right 1 week after the Brexit votum.
Ah, right, it's out of date.
Yeah, yeah, as said before. But we have another survey where we try to figure out whether this first impression is really a continuation or not. And the lower slide here is the question of employment related to this negative outlook for investment in the UK from a German company's perspective. Goes along the lower employment plannings for German companies. Lower plannings does not mean that there is a withdrawal on large scale, but let's say not exploiting the potential and less employment from a perspective without having the Brexit. So going to the next survey, I would like to end with there was another one, but okay. We have asked also the German companies about their priorities concerning the Brexit negotiations. The priorities, I have it in another survey. You're very invited that I sent. Here we have. Thank you very much. Thank you. I just want to show you here the priorities for the Brexit negotiations. Of course, from a German company's point of view, with international business, with British-related business exposures, 88% told us the free movement of goods is a must-be for the negotiations from our perspective. Please minimize red tape. On the other hand, this is our major concern, and I've spoken with many of companies having business relations in and with UK, and they told me that they have really freezed investments right now because they don't know what is the regulatory framework and what will happen, and the concern is that there will be new obstacles for trade. And it's not only a question who is the destination country, it's also the question of the supply of the goods. The BMW is not producing the Mini in the UK without having supply products from Germany. There is a lot of. It's not maybe when it's not a global value chain, at least it's a European value chain, and this is the major problem, and it could be interrupted. Free movement of capital and funds, 67% rapid implementation of the new regime to destroy the uncertainty, either with a good regime or another. Free movement of persons is really for 50%, almost 50%, a priority issue when it comes to negotiations. And we really take that that's really only a business point of view, that for their business it is of importance. It's not the utmost importance, but it is an importance when it comes to negotiations. And freedom to provide services is only by 35%, but only due to the fact that it is not the major share of German business related with UK, so that means 35% is not a bad figure. So summing up, we do say we are longing for having a kind of a soft Brexit, but that's not on us to have that. It's often mentioned that 15% of German car production is heading to the UK. But on the other hand, and even more important, is the integrity of the single market due to two factors. One is to the rest of the single market, or take the Eurozone. It's 40% of all our exports are determined to go to those markets, to the Eurozone markets, and a lot of our production plants are, at least here in Central and even more and more in Eastern Europe, and we are part of this European value chain. In order from this European value chain, we are exporting our products to third markets, with which the European Union has more than 40 free trade agreements, and when we don't have the UK as integral part of this single market, then at least the UK, from our perspective, is losing attractiveness, which they could compensate by other factors, okay, but this is a proof that has to be done. And the integrity of this single market is of utmost importance, even more important than the hopefully long-lasting good relations to the UK. Thank you very much.